What's going on, everybody? This is Jackson from JD Sports Zone, and today I have another Banana Ball interview. Local Beach coach Endy Morales. Endy, thank you so much for taking time out of your day mid-tour to do this. And how's tour going for you?
Fired up to be here, brother. I appreciate the invite, and the tour has been incredible, man. Like it's obviously my first experience with doing this, and the Banana Ball Championship League. It's starting to catch so much more buzz around the nation now. Every single stop that we have, you got a local media, people on Instagram, Facebook. Like it's catching big waves right now.
Yeah, again, I'm super excited to have you on. Your coaches and players say a lot of great things about you, so excited to have you on. Now, I want to start off before Banana Land because I want to talk about your personal playing career and coaching career. Before Banana Land, you played at Southern New Hampshire University. You coached at Dean College, coached at Curry College a little bit. I want to ask you, what kind of led you from your collegiate career to coaching career to now the entertainment side of baseball in Banana Land?
Absolutely, yeah. If you look at the playing career, yeah, I bounced around a lot, right? I went to West Virginia University for my first 2 years, Southern New Hampshire for 2 years, was going to be there for the COVID year, which would have been my fifth year. And then I actually, once COVID hit, I entered the portal and went to Tennessee Tech, had another knee surgery, ACL surgery, and kind of called it quits after that. But I had no intentions of coaching. I was just in a kind of weird place after I stopped playing, and I was living in Tennessee at the time, moved back home, and I just happened to go by the old high school field they used to play at, which also which was also the summer baseball team that I played for, that same field. So I just went back. I was kind of in a weird place, and I saw a school practicing or a team practicing, and it happened to be Elms College. The head coach of Elms College is he was my summer ball coach and a really good dear friend of mine. And it just kind of led to, hey, do you want to help out for a little bit? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So started coaching there. Still didn't really think I was going to do the whole college coaching thing. And as everything in my life has kind of happened, it's always been because of connections and networking. And that opportunity led to another one. That opportunity led to another coaching job. And, very quickly I saw that I wanted to be a head coach at the college level. So I kind of tested myself, and I applied for a job, Dean College, that was open. I didn't know a ton about it. I knew they were a relatively new Division III program. They were junior college for some years before that. And I'm like, yeah, why not? Let me get some professional experience and, apply for it. Long story short, ended up getting the job, and learned on the fly there. And along that way, obviously, you're out on the road recruiting during the summers, and I happened to meet Coach Crocco in a Long Island show ball showcase, and it's about 6:45 in the morning, and I run into Coach Crocco, and he is all fired up. He's probably off, two energy drinks or two espresso shots, and we just hit it off. And 3 years later, him getting that opportunity to be the manager for the Loco Beach Coconuts led to me getting an opportunity.
That's absolutely awesome. Hearing from the collegiate standpoint to coaching career to now being the pitching and assistant coach for the Local Beach Coconuts. Again, the sports industry, anybody's going to tell you it's all about connections and who you know. So glad to hear that you landed in Loco Beach in, the crazy Coconuts land that everybody knows as Loco Beach. So I actually want to ask you like some fun questions. Now you're in the full swing of things. First full year in Banana Ball, you had the opportunity to be on a cruise ship for Banana Land at Sea. First time asking this question, what was that experience like for you?
Oh man, that cruise was absolutely incredible. I had never been on a cruise. I've never even really left the country, right? I've traveled a lot in the United States, but I've never left the country. So that was really my first opportunity to, one, get on a cruise, and two, get on international waters. And to do it, you know, in an organization like the Bananas organization with a bunch of fans, that was honestly the best way to get introduced to Banana Ball and really see the impact that what this league and what this organization does, right? Because you're there, you're in the middle of the ocean with a bunch of fans, and excuse me, and you're pretty much on the whole time, right? It's the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, you're interacting and impacting and having conversations. And I just thought that that was such an incredible experience. And, they still did a really good job of allowing us to have our freedom and enjoy the experience. I might have had probably 8 ice cream cones a day because it was free, but it was definitely a really cool experience. And, to say that that was work really gave me an insight to what this tour was going to be because it doesn't really feel like work at all.
I mean, it's cool you had a preview to what the tour was going to be like, having a counterbalance of having fun yourself on a cruise, because I've been on a couple cruises in my lifetime, and but still interacting and impacting fans, across the ship. So that's really cool to hear. And personally, I mean, I'm not against having a few ice cream cones in my lifetime, so in my day. So that's really cool to hear. Now, I do want to ask you some more fun questions because I'm the guy who loves to ask the fun questions. Now,
Let's
I
go.
always hear it from a player standpoint of snacks and drinks they bring to the field to hype them up before game day. I want to ask you, what's your go-to like gas station food or drink you like to have before heading onto the field before coaching?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm not like a huge energy drink guy. I never really have been. Coffee's always kind of my go-to. I have one right here, ready to rock. In terms of snacks, I usually always go with Snickers. Snickers, the almond one, it usually just hits the spot. Um, and in terms of beverage at a gas station, it's usually a Diet Coke, Dr. Pepper, something along those lines. Something I shouldn't really be drinking, but it is what it is. But that's definitely usually my go-to there. Especially from coming the college world where you're out on the road recruiting and driving all the time. The Snickers and the Diet Coke always get you going.
Mhm. Personally, I'm a big Arizona and combos guy when I go to the
Ooh.
gas station down the street. So kiwi strawberry, that's my go-to Arizona drink. But a Diet Coke and Snickers, I mean, hey, if they're willing to sponsor you, shout out to them if they ever watch this.
Let's
But
go, baby.
yeah, I want to see that. Look forward to that. But I want to ask you some questions from a coaching standpoint because we see the Loco Beach roster around you. You have a lot of older guys who have been around AAA baseball, like Eric Osberg, for example. And then you have a lot of younger guys who are maybe just getting out of college, getting their feet wet in professional baseball, like Ashby Vining. What's the difference in maybe advice you give to a veteran versus a rookie standpoint when it comes to pro ball and entertainment baseball with the Loco Beach Coconuts?
Yeah, I think it's this organization or this type of professional baseball. It's the perfect mix because of what suits me really well, right? Like the biggest thing that I always hung my hat on as a coach or a head coach is the ability to know your guys individually, right? Like there's no cookie cut way. I've always said that to develop guys, but also to build relationships with guys. And here specifically, you can do that, right? So I know how to handle a conversation with CJ Williams, who's fresh out of college, Ashby Vining, Gideon Antle, those guys that had literally just played college baseball last year. That conversation is a lot different than I'm having with a Keegan James, Austin Krasminski, Will Etheridge. Like those conversations are a lot different, and you just got to learn to adapt, right? At this in the same breath, even though those guys have been in pro ball and some of the older guys they've been around and they know, for them it's more about just listening, opening my ears up, and letting them know that I'm here for them. And they know what works best for them. They know their arms, their best, and what makes them be able to compete at a high level. Whatever you need, I'm here for you. Right now that we're at like kind of that middle point of the season, that's when we're starting to have the conversations of like, oh, what do you see? What do you think might help? And that's when I'm open to kind of share, that coaching philosophy or the stuff that I think that would help them make that next jump. And whereas with the younger guys, I could be a little bit more like college coachy with them, right? Where it's like, hey man, like this is what I'm seeing. You're used to being on a throwing program or arm care program, and this is the layout. This is how you attack hitters. Blah 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 blah. This is what I'm seeing, and it's not because they haven't earned it. They 100% have. They've had incredible careers at the college level and are doing a really good job here. But I just think it's more of me pushing a little bit to see what they really need. Whereas the older guys, I don't have to push as much. I wait until, they kind of come to me man to man and they're like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. Can you help? And so it's the perfect balance. And I think hopefully the guys would agree with that. I don't force anything. I never really have. You got to let it come naturally and authentically. And I think that's why our pitching staff right now in general, we're about middle of the pack in terms of ERA. And I think that's a pretty good place to be for a brand new team with a bunch of guys who haven't done it before in banana ball. So, we're having success, and I think it's because we're starting to understand each other as a whole.
I love hearing pitching philosophies from different pitching coaches, from especially an entertainment baseball side of things, because the biggest part about entertainment baseball is you don't have to rely heavily on like a stat sheet or a scouting report. But it's great to hear, the insights and inputs you give to veteran presences like Will Etheridge and Ashby Vining. So again, I think you fit perfectly with the Local Beach vibe and the pitching philosophies. So again, I love hearing your shared input on that. Now, I do want to ask you another fun question. I asked this question to Coach Marks, asked this question to Coach Crocco. Now I'm going to ask this question to Coach Morales. If you could choose four people on the Local Beach team to join you in a summer beach trip, because now we're heading into June, who would you choose and where would you go?
Ooh, all right. Um, all right. St. Thomas is probably one of the places that I would love to go. I'm pretty sure my uncle has been there before. Um, I I don't know if that's specifically, like my number one on my bucket list to travel to, but if we're going with like the beach vibes and stuff like that, yeah, I would like to go to St. Thomas Island. Um, Definitely got to bring Marksy. Marksy is my spirit warrior. He is he's my entertainment, right? Like I love being one. I live with him, right? So I get to see him on a daily basis, and he's just such an energy ball, and he brings the vibes, and I love that. Sometimes I wish I could be as like outgoing and stuff. I am outgoing, but the way that he is, it's absolutely incredible. He just lets it hang loose, let loose, go loco. That's kind of our slogan there. Um, the other three guys, honestly, I wish I could say all of them, but Joe Filomeno, 100%. Uh, CJ Williams, dog. Definitely would love to have him there too. And, you know, someone that I'm really close with on the team. I'm close with a lot of the guys, but Ashby Vining. I love Ashby Vining. Having him there would be incredible. And then, my honorary mentions, I'm going to say this as well because it's all interchangeable. But, guys like Tanner Allen, definitely want to have them there as well. But I think that's a solid group right there. Ashby can teach me how to surf. I think that's incredible. Marksy brings the vibes. Filomeno is Filomeno. And, me and CJ would probably be sitting on a chair talking about pitch grips and this and that and just having a good time.
I mean, I think that's a great core four plus interchangeable honorable mentions to bring it on a St. Thomas beach trip. I've been to St. Thomas. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh,
Definitely sometime.
damn,
Ashby,
man. No invite, bro. No invite. That's crazy. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
mean, that was back in like 2017. I was maybe 14 at the time. So, definitely would in the future. But if you're talking pure vibes, Ashby Vining and Coach Marks, they're like to the T with it. So, honestly, great core four. Now, I do want to ask you this because you just got off a trip from Milwaukee. You got to play in American Family Field. I keep forgetting it's now that.
Yeah.
You got to meet some great guys, Jeff Jenkins, Corey Hart. I was watching the live stream. As you continue this journey this season, who are some celebrities or athletes you would love to see as you continue this world tour?
Oh, that's a great question. Obviously, we're going back to Gillette, or we're going to Gillette this year at the end of August. That's going to be like my hometown game. Ironically, Dean College is 10 minutes down the road from Gillette Stadium. So that one's going to be very, it's going to be special for me. In regards to who I would love to see there, Probably Gronk. I just think that his energy would be so perfect for Banana Ball. Um, we're obviously going to a couple other places as well, but Gronk definitely is at the top of that list. Very jealous that the guys got to meet Patty Mahomes over in Kansas City. Um, but I think he just kind of sits at the top of my list there. Obviously, Pat McAfee. Those guys had an opportunity over there in with the Clowns game or first headliner. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of another one that I think would fit perfectly with Banana Ball too. We're going to Jersey Shore this weekend, and anybody from the show, I think that would be incredible. DJ Pauly D, meeting him would be absolutely nuts. Have him come DJ at a game. I think that would be sick this weekend, but that's probably too quick of a turnaround. But who knows? It's Banana Ball. They might already have something up their sleeve.
I mean, again, Gronk would perfectly fit. He gives me Ashby Vining vibes, so I think he'd fit perfect there. I don't know if you'll find a big enough jersey for him, but
Probably not.
probably not. But and then Jersey Shore, that's one of my girlfriend's favorite shows. So I honestly, I've kind of gotten into it. I'm never gonna tell her that, but I mean, I love the show itself. So that's absolutely awesome to hear. Now, I do want to ask you this as a former pitcher. I asked this question to Will Etheridge and all the other coconut pitchers I've had on. If you could create a custom glove out of anything beach related, it doesn't have to be like quote unquote usable. What would you create it out of and why?
All right. This is going to sound weird, but I don't actually have to use it, right?
No.
All right. Well, I'm probably going to do a watermelon
Mm.
because it's a perfect snack at the beach, right? It's very hydrating, very refreshing. I think it's a perfect beach snack, and it's got the shell, right? So you can kind of get some durability with it. If you were actually going to use it, you could take a bite out of it. Um, and I think it's pretty cool colors, green and red. So that would be my choice there for sure. You could do a lot with that.
I feel like you'd be able to catch a banana ball with watermelon. I mean, I've seen people catch banana balls in their pants before, so why not watermelon? Perfect beach
Amen,
snack.
amen to that.
Related, yeah, relating to that. Now, I do want to ask you this question when it comes to a Mount Rushmore of things, because maybe you had some favorite baseball players growing up. I'm not sure what your favorite team was. Personally, I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, so
Mhm.
Albert Pujols would be in there. Who's your Mount Rushmore of baseball players relating to your favorite team?
So I'm a Red Sox guy. Um, I wouldn't say it's weird. Like I'm not a huge like die-hard Red Sox fan, right? Like where I know XYZ about every guy in years and this and that. I don't think I had enough access to it like growing up, you know what I mean? I was just so focused on my childhood and kind of doing those things and hadn't really attended big league games and stuff like that. Um, but when you think of a Mount Rushmore being a pitcher, on a guy that obviously had velocity, but he had a lot of movement and changeup was a big pitch for him. Pedro Martinez was definitely one of those guys that um, you look up to, and then he ends up being on the broadcaster or being a broadcaster and all that stuff. So you get to keep hearing from him. Um, I think that's a big one for sure. Big Poppy, that's a good one in our area growing up with that. In terms of other pitchers, it's I always just kind of looked at like that Pedro Martinez, Kurt Schilling, having those guys that were just dogs, Josh Beckett. Like I grew up in like that kind of era. Um, and those were some of the best Red Sox teams to be, to kind of we're struggling to get back to that level of baseball that we've played, but I would just put Pedro up there by himself.
I mean, in my opinion, Pedro Martinez, the greatest peak of any pitcher in MLB history. 2013 World Series still hurts me to this day, but I love the great core four there relating to Boston Red Sox. Maybe see David Ortiz and Gillette. We'll see what happens out there. I would love to see that.
Not too far
But
fetched. Not
yeah,
too far
I
fetched.
mean, not too far-fetched. But final question for you, Coach Endy Morales. I ask this question to every Banana Ball guest I have on. Banana Ball is prided on the term fans first. What does fans first personally mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's, taking that second before anything you do or anything you say to truly take a step back and being, is this fans first, right? Like, take my opinion out of it, take my feelings out of it. Is this going to impact somebody positively? And I feel like I've kind of always done that in my life, to be completely honest. I put a lot of people's feelings first. Um, that's why I think this experience has been phenomenal for me. But it's also about, if there's a quick turnaround and, from a night game to a day game and you're tired, even though I'm a coach, right? I'm not physically out there playing all the time. These games do get exhausting. You're on your feet and you're interacting. Your social battery it's got to be really high. So I do get tired as well. Um, and with all the travel and stuff, it's about going out to that plaza party or going out to the autograph signing before the game and still going out there with energy, smile on your face, giving hugs, high fives, asking questions to these kiddos and these families, not just the same generic questions, like pick something out that works, that this kid is wearing that might put a smile on their face. And that to me is fans first. We see our guys doing it all the time, right? Like everyone in this organization, does that. And some days it's harder than other days to go out there and put that smile on your face when you're exhausted. But it's really easy to do that when you just see them light up and see how excited they are. Growing up, you said you love the Cardinals, right? Like, I'm a Red Sox guy. Like it's the fact that these people are that excited to see. I would just say we're normal people, right? For them to be that excited to come and watch us and see how long they've been waiting on that wait list for, and they finally get the chance to see it. You got to give those people your best effort and your most authentic answers and smile, and that stuff to me just goes such a long way. So when I think of fans first, that's what it is. One, you know, really just think about how the other person's going to feel, how you can make them feel, and we have the privilege to do that. And then two, it's overcoming any sense of tiredness or being stuck in a routine or whatever it is. Our job is pretty incredible, and the fact that it doesn't feel like work, not many people get to say that, and I know how grateful and thankful and blessed I am for that.
And I think that's a fantastic perspective, especially from a coach's perspective in banana ball. I got to spend this past week in Savannah with the Bananas and the Clowns on field and getting to see all the players and coaches interact with these fans because you never know what they're going through or if it's their first time at a game or only time they're going to be ever to able to come to a game. And again, I think having that perspective and energy and mentality is what makes you perfect for banana ball and Loco Beach. So, Coach Endy Morales, thank you so much again for taking time out of your day and mid tour to do this interview. Anything you'd want to shout out? Anything big projects coming up for you personally?
Yeah, so I'd be really upset if I didn't mention this, on this podcast. But I think another reason why I think banana ball is perfect and why I've always kind of been, I guess, led to here. One of my stops that I didn't mention was in the summer, right? Like NECBL, the New England Collegiate Baseball League. I played there for 4 summers. I was very fortunate that that team, the Valley Blue Sox, um, was in my hometown, Holyoke, Massachusetts, where I grew up. And every summer, I got the opportunity to go back home, right, to an area that doesn't always have a lot to hang their hat on. And I grew up in that area and, had opportunities that some people in that area don't get to have. So coming back home every summer was always very special. They always called me like the hometown guy. We won 2 championships in that league, which when I was playing there, it was the second best league in the summer behind the Cape Cod League. So, we used to get 2,000 fans there. I would have my family there, all my friends. And that was all about, for my city, right? Like going and signing these kids' balls after autographs, doing whatever, working with the Boys and Girls Club in town, like all of that, so I can show them, like, look, you can do this too. I came from the very same area, and that was all very fans first. I didn't know it at the time, but that was something that I used in my first talk that I had with Tyler Gillum when he asked why banana ball, or what's fans first mean to you, and that was I've been doing that, right? I got to experience that, and that was very special. And I'm just thankful for the Valley Blue Sox. I got to manage them this past summer. That was a great experience, and that's definitely like one of the shout outs that I wanted to do before that. And
Good to hear that, you have a lot of hometown support and, a great representation in that area of Massachusetts for Endy Morales, seeing how big you now are and how big you can give back to the community and impact. But again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And Loco Beach is lucky to have you, man. I'm super excited I was able to talk with you today, and best of luck for the rest of the tour.
I appreciate you, brother. I love what you're doing, man. Keep it up.
Thank you.